How does your circle choose you? This is arguably the most important topic to understand ever in your life. Why? Because your circle is the number one indicator for your success or your failure in any given calling in your life. Whether you want to choose sports, college, university, entrepreneurship, business, or just bettering your life, your circle is the number one indicator whether you're going to succeed or you're going to fail. So how I'm going to explain this is I'm going to talk about all the books and entrepreneurs that have actually talked about this topic. I'm going to also give my first-hand experience about this topic, and also I'm going to give stories where I have succeeded just because of my circle, and I have failed just because of my circle. So let's get started. So obviously talking about circle is probably mentioned in any self-help books, any finance books, any psychology books, any investment books, all of them talk about it. My chosen book for today is Think and Grow Rich, my favorite book by Napoleon Hill. So in this book, he talks about, obviously Napoleon Hill, he talks about the circle and he calls it a mastermind alliance. And he goes further to actually explain what he's talking about. Obviously, he explains how when he did the research of the 25,000 people that have researched, and realized that top performers, the top few people, all of them have some sort of mastermind alliance. Now, what is a mastermind alliance? A mastermind alliance, he explains it in this way, and he also gives it a good few little introduction that makes it just way better. He says, as a human person, as a human, you cannot really understand everything in life. It just cannot be possible. So what you need to do is specialize. Let's say there is 10 fields, you just specialize in one. Let's give an example of cars. Let's say you make cars. So instead of specializing in every aspect of cars, let's say you just specialize in what is the best design for the wheels. Random, but just say that. You are specialized in how to make the wheels actually work better and they fit the car better, and each car has different type of wheels that's better, whatever. I'm just giving random examples. Now, can you actually have general knowledge about the entire car? Probably, but it's not the best for you. You don't want to specialize in everything. Oh, I know how to make wheels. I know how to make the driving wheel and the doors and the motors and the electricity cycles, blah, blah, blah. Then you just become a general knowledge. Nobody cares about you. You want to have specialized knowledge. Now, the Mastermind Alliance, you have a lot of these people with you as well. So you know how to make wheels. That guy knows how to make doors. This guy knows how to make electricity. This guy knows batteries. This guy knows the motor. This guy knows the oil circuit, whatever. This guy knows the EV cars, how to make a car EV. This guy knows the hybrid. So when you meet with them, it's almost as if all this information comes to you all at once, which obviously gives you the huge biggest advantage that you probably will ever get in your life, because then it's not only your information, but it's everybody else's. And in this case, it's your specialized knowledge coupled with all their specialized knowledge. So this is such a good, huge advantage that you can have just by having specialized knowledge and having other people that have specialized knowledge, and you meet with them. Obviously, he goes further and he explains how the Mastermind Alliance should be met or made as constant as humanly possible. If you can every day, that would be awesome. If you can 2 times a day, that would be awesome, right? He said at least has to be 1 or twice a week, at least. So you have to meet with these people once or twice a week. I mean, he goes on even crazier, obviously Napoleon Hill, and he talks about how you can also have imaginary people in your mastermind. So let's say you want to have, you're in the entertainment business and you want to, and almost as if you want Michael Jackson to be in your mastermind. You cannot have him. I mean, even people are not dead, but let's just say Michael Jackson because it's easy. You want to have Michael Jackson. Obviously, you need to know a lot about this person. You have to read about him and whatever, watch stuff about him so you can have some sort of good estimate of how he thinks. And you can almost simulate this experience of you talking to him in real life. And he said, I mean, the Napoleon Hill, he said, I've been doing this, but I've never talked about it because people would say I'm crazy. But he explained it in his book, and he said, you can actually do it and do it regularly. He said he was meeting with Edison and Henry Ford. I'm not sure about Andrew Carnegie, although he has met them, I'm pretty sure, in his life. But he did that, and he was talking to them, blah, blah, blah. And he said that helps him a lot in terms of making decisions. And as I said, I'm going to also couple it here first-hand experience. I have done that myself. I think it's good. I have a mastermind alliance, imaginary mastermind alliance as well, that I have made since I started making this video. I'd say at first it was hard. Actually, it was easy, I'm not gonna lie. At the middle, it was hard. Because after a while, you're like, oh, it's hard to think. Because it needs some sort of concentration to sit and actually imagine that people are with you and you have to talk and you don't have to think of what they say. You just almost as if you know what they say. It's just a weird, I mean, if you want to go in depth, you can read the book. But you don't have to think logically about what they're gonna say. So you don't think logically about what Michael Jackson would say. He should just say it in your imagination. Because then what you want to do is use your unconscious mind instead of your conscious mind that always does the thinking. You want to use your unconscious mind, which obviously the most essence of the book is that he's way more powerful than your conscious mind. Just way more powerful, like insanely more powerful. And if you want to know why, you can probably read the book. But going back to our mastermind, it talks about all the people in the world who actually did this. Now let's show, I want to make this even more richer. Other book, which is The Richest Man in Babylon, one of the best books of all time. Financial books or investment books, and I'm pretty sure it's also one of the best-selling books in the investment industry. Throughout the book, there is this beautiful, one of the best chapters for me personally. He talks about how the richest man in Babylon is the richest man in this world, or right in the city, let's say, which is the richest city in the world. So what he does a meeting, and I love the introduction. He said, there is one place, the author, I forgot his name, it starts with the C. He said, there's one place in Babylon that is worth more than the gold of Babylon. Such a good introduction, I'm not gonna lie. And he says, it is this. So what is this? Is that every day they meet afternoon at some point, at some time, and they have a meeting of men, pretty much all the men of Babylon, and then obviously he goes on to details and he says, well, it's men from different ages, from young to old age, but mostly middle age. Mostly middle age to a little bit of old people, and they just sit there and they just talk about topics, right? And a lot of topics that they have talked about in the book is luck, right? How people are lucky and how can you get lucky, and how they talked about opportunities. They talk about different topics as well, right? And the way they do it is obviously the richest man in Babylon there, and everybody's asking questions, everybody's telling ideas, and that is just a good idea, just a good symbolization of what mastermind could be. It's just like, it couldn't be any clearer than that. Now going back to the circle thing, looking at the entrepreneurs, let's say, because I promised, I said I'm going to give books on entrepreneurs, first-hand experience. Looking back at entrepreneurs, there's so many entrepreneurs I can give. Because generally, any biography that you read about any CEO talks about this topic. Because obviously, one of the parts of building a company at some point is just having A players. And that's why you see, interviews like Steve Jobs talking about A players like it's his obsession. He talks about there's only a few companies in the world that is all A players, and he said the only A company that he saw that wasn't all A players, it was Pixar, and it had 400 employees, and at the time Apple had 4,000 employees. And he even has this famous interview when he says, your biggest job as a CEO is to find A players and recruit them. But you can't have B players, because A players want to only be with A players. If you want A and B and C, D players, they're not going to be with you. So the A players require A players. And you know what? I'm going to give this, wow, I'm gonna give this example or caveat that I have learned just yesterday from the minister of, I'm pretty sure the minister of culture and sports in Morocco. I'm pretty sure he is. So the minister, he's responsible for the national team, etc. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's sports and culture. I'm pretty sure. So the minister actually had this interview. I've never seen him done an interview, but I saw in the clips goes viral or whatever, go viral, and they pop up on my Instagram anyway. I don't know if that viral or not. But he talks about the players. So Moroccan players, I've met them actually. I've seen them play just here in the stadium, 5 minutes away. And he said, obviously, Moroccan players, we're talking about big Moroccan players. We're talking about Hakimi, who plays for PSG. We're talking about a lot of the names that play for Manchester United or the big teams in Saudi or just in Europe or whatever. So they have big names. He said, one of the biggest rules to have these players come to Morocco and apply, he talked about a few, but one of them, he said, you need to make an environment that is on their level. Because he says, if they're gonna come here for 10 days, they don't wanna stay in a shit environment, in a bad environment, where their performance just drops, because after that 10 days, they have to go back to the team and play. So their performance shouldn't be affected. And I think that is brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Think about it. Those are A players. The A players. The A players. I mean, obviously, A players, right? The A players. To have them, you need to have the environment for them. The environment that is suitable for an A player. The environment that is suitable for an A player, obviously amongst A players. Because once you see the videos on their Instagram, they're having all this long table dinner. Pretty much all what they was talking about right now with the racist man in Babylon, talking about that mastermind lines where they had all the big racist man in Babylon, whatever. They literally posted on their Instagram. It's a very long table, right? And all the A players, obviously it's the Moroccan team, but all of them are A players. You can be on the Moroccan team if you're not A player. So all of them are A players. We're talking about, they're worth a lot of millions. A lot, right? A lot. I'm pretty sure there is a few $100 million worth players right there. And you can see how they talk and they sort of cultivate a culture, and actually they give each one of them has a certain speech. This is the importance of circle. Now, talking about this topic a lot is, I'm going to give also personally, first-hand experience. I had one of my best friends who actually gave me the CV1 that I have. I'm going to say his name. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't. His name is Adam Astawi. Okay, let's just say that. His name is Adam Astawi. He's one of my best friends of all time. And I was talking to him a lot at a certain point of, how do you network? Because his networking was way better off than me, way better off. I mean, I had the same friends for years. That's how do you network? How do you network? And a lot of the times he says, like, when you network, not by really knowing people, but really just working on yourself. You have to develop the type of personality that attracts people. And funny enough, that was probably the last things he said, and now he just ghosts me. But that just happens in life, by the way. Different people have different priorities, have different rules of socializing and networking and who they're going to be with, which happens. And that's why we're talking about circles. And now he doesn't talk to me anymore. Cool. I guess it happens. Business owners, if you are business owners, if you are an entrepreneur, just expect that a lot of the times your friends or your colleagues, whatever, you're going to split ways. It just happens. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean he's bad. It just happens that each one of you goes a certain way. I mean, even in college. College, I had a lot of colleagues. I had them and I have them and forever. We just happen to be separate ways. I mean, in college, one of the biggest examples, even last year, a lot of people that I knew, they were very close, but each one of them went a separate way. Why? Because this guy works in this city and this guy works in this city. I mean, even with this example, he's like, 800 kilometers away and we've never met in person. And we had a very long relationship, very long. I'm pretty sure it was 3-4 years. He says ended now, but still, just pretty good. But he taught me a lot of shit. One of them was work on yourself if you want to network. Meaning you need to have the type of personality that people get attracted to. I didn't understand that, but now I think about it. I'd say one of the biggest advantages that I have is I have some sort of personality that I don't know what it is, but just attracts A players to me. At least the A players that I see. I'm not saying I attract Hakimi, who was the Moroccan A player. No. But I attract the A players in my environment. Usually it's how it works. And I think it just comes to a few certain rules that you have to apply. I'm gonna give you 3 certain rules that you have to apply that I think have helped me a lot, and you just held by them and stood by them, and surprisingly enough, they stick with you, the A players. And you don't need to even chase whatever. You just attract. I think it's a good Imam Ghazi principle that he says, well, instead of chasing things, you need to attract things. You need to be the type of personality who what you want comes to, instead of what you want you chase. It's such a beautiful concept. It's still active though. It's still active, it's not passive. So, first thing is, you're not afraid to be alone. If you want to achieve something in life, you're gonna be alone. It just happens as a matter of fact. If you wanna go, I mean, even in college, I think in college, if you really want to be like, let's say you have first in class, whatever, or you get a perfect grade, you really, I wouldn't say you're alone because you're studying with like 80 people or 100 people depending on your class, and you can socialize a lot and you can go to lecture and talk to people, whatever. So it's not really that lonely, okay? But if you're going to do anything other than that, it's going to be lonely. I mean, even if you are in college and you are pursuing other things, which you should, and that is life, you will have to, you're going to find yourself that a lot of the times you're lonely and alone. And you just have to accept it. I mean, last week I filmed a video about how I am lonely and I am alone. I filmed a video literally last week talking about how I'm lonely and how I am alone, and how you should just accept that as a matter of fact, because it is what it is. You just happen to be there, and you need to be ready to go into the darkness of hell, and believe that there is a brightness on the other side and there is a heaven on the other side. And if you are in hell, you might as well just keep moving, right? And you have to be comfortable almost in a certain way to be existing in the darkness of hell, almost. So I said that. Why? If you want A players, the number one thing that they don't want, I mean, A players, I'm sort of glorifying. If you want someone who's good in a certain field, the worst thing, and even for you, you don't want someone who's desperate for you. I mean, I don't want someone who's desperate for me. I don't care why he's desperate, because different people can be desperate for certain different ways or different reasons. But if you are desperate for me for whatever reason, I don't want you. Just get away from me. I don't want you to be with me, bro. It's just not a good relationship. Oh, you're desperate. Oh, no, I'm desperate. I'm desperate. No. You don't want to be desperate. You want to be... And the way you do it is almost you will have these tests. It will happen with everybody, and also it will happen with these people that are high performance, where they're going to leave you alone and you're going to leave them alone. And you just exist there in the darkness, silent. You don't have the urge to talk. That's it. I mean, is that hard? Probably not. So that's number one. You're not afraid of being alone, and you're not afraid of being lonely. Because then they feel safe to be with you, because they know whenever they want to dip out, they dip out. I mean, Adam Astawi, he dipped out, but I still love him. I think he's an amazing guy, and I hope him the best in his world and his YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works. So they want to be able to be with you, then dip out whenever the fuck they want. So that's rule number one. I mean, I'll give you even a quick example. About a few days ago, I mean, literally last weekend, which was 3 days ago, I was in this meeting which had the biggest content creators in Morocco, and there were some content creators here from this city, which is a small city in the east of Morocco, the eastest of Morocco. And I know this content creator who didn't really like me that much, but I also know he's amazing at networking. I'm telling you, he knows everybody in the field, everybody. I like him a little bit, he doesn't like me, and I know that. And also I didn't like him a little bit because he didn't like me, but whatever. You got the point. We're not best friends. We just meet in this meetings or whatever events. I said hi to him. Almost we acted as if we didn't see each other for a while. Didn't matter. We said hi a little bit. Didn't matter. And it was sitting because both of us had to be sitting for a while because we didn't give a fuck about the event that was playing at the time, and we were more interested in later events. I was sitting literally from him about 4 or 5 meters, not said a word. I could have just went to them and asked, nope, just not said a word. Not because I'm arrogant, not because I'm lazy, not because I'm dumb, because I know that is the right way to show just, it's almost as if I'm not desperate or I don't need you. But you're welcome if you want to talk. And then what happens is, after maybe an hour, right, I just had to do that anyway, as if he wasn't there. I went there to film a quick shot, and then he started talking to me. And then we talked, and obviously we spent the entire day together. But that's the point. High performance or performers or just any whatever, people don't want you to be desperate for them, right? It's almost as if, you have a girl and she likes you or you like her. If she doesn't like you like her more because there is a chase. But if she does just likes you and imagine she's obsessed with you, like, I don't know. I don't know about that. And even if she's good, you're like, I don't know. I like that girl now. It's true. It's human culture, human psychology. So there's that. There's that, okay? So I said 3 rules. Rule number 2, you have to love achievements. I have been with high performance and I have been high performer myself in college in the first year. And I had all this community of high performance meaning the top people in the class. And I just noticed this culture that they have. And I did have it at the time, which is why I'm talking about this. Is that we're almost ashamed or we didn't want to say that, oh, I have prepared a lot. I've worked a lot. Work was almost as if something that you shouldn't say. You should say, oh, it didn't work. Oh, and somehow I did fucking get the good grade. Because people, if they just see you, they're like, oh, you've been studying for 5 years. And because all the high performers, especially in college, they just used to this environment that they can't just be themselves and say, well, I've actually studied for 10 hours for the past 1 week. But they just don't have this environment that they can talk about it. With people who are B players, C players, they can talk about it because they just won't understand them, because these guys don't give a fuck about college grades, whatever. And with the A players themselves, they don't talk about it because they shame each other, because they almost have this context of who prepares the least, and it's very negative. It's very negative. It's the most horrible thing you want. So what I do now, I mean, I didn't do it in my first year of college and I failed that year. So I learned my lesson and I said, fuck that shit. I'll be what the fuck I want. And I fucking want to get a full grade. Everybody knows. I mean, in class, everybody knows that Yasin, who's me, WhiTeeee Galaxy, Yasin, he wants to get a full grade 20 out of 20. And I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I'm not ashamed to ask teachers for it. I'm not ashamed to state it in the group chat of all the 100 students. I mean, we are 87, but I don't know how there's 100. I'm not afraid to do that. Actually, everybody knows about that, which makes an environment for high performers to be comfortable with me. Because when they are with me, they know that I don't give a fuck about them, how much hours they spend. What about we get the fucking job done and we get 20 out of 20? And you just love this shit. I mean, even I was lucky enough to be with the first in the class, actually to be in my thesis team. So at the beginning we were talking blah, 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 it doesn't matter, it doesn't really matter. And it wasn't very good. I'd say the first few months weren't really good. But at some point, I was actually, working. I said, fuck, we gotta work, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. And she was almost surprised. She said, I can't imagine that Yasin is talking about work. Because to her, I just shouldn't talk about work. Or at least she had this image that I don't study a lot, whatever she thought. But she just found out we don't have that culture. I don't have that culture. If you want to be with me, you're not having that culture as well. We're not having a contest of who studied the least. We're having a contest. Oh yeah, I fucking studied, and so fucking what? That's why I'm better than you. I'm gonna get a better grade than you. What about that, bitch? And I think that they value this. They value it almost as if honesty, right? Because when they ask me, and you ask me exam days, I'm fucking prepared. Maybe I didn't prepare for a month, but I have my own strategy that I go and I know it's gonna prepare or perform better than every motherfucker else. That's how it works. That's how it goes. So they love that shit. I mean, my group chat for my thesis group was literally labeled 20 out of 20. 20 out of 20, and named 20 out of 20 in my pocket. In pocket. It's in French, it's almost in pocket, which is, it's guaranteed. And also, I went even further, and I asked my thesis professor to, what are the chances to give us 20 out of 20? I mean, even in the thesis presentation day, we were negotiating a thesis to get 20 out of 20. I mean, at the beginning, they almost thought I was crazy. And I get that, because for me, it was 20 out of 20. For her, she was almost as classmate. She wanted to be the first. So if I really want to wanted to convince her with something, instead of saying, oh, and for us to get a 20 out of 20, you have to do 1, 2, 3. I say for us to class in the class, to rank in the class, we have to do 1, 2, 3. And then she's like, oh, amen. But if I'm gonna say for me, what works for me, which is if I want to get 20 out of 20, I gotta do this. She doesn't really get affected by that. It just shows that also high achievers almost have some sort of perspective or have some wordings that you have to figure out, or goals that they just will go all in for it, which is good. Which is second point, okay? Second point. So first point, don't be afraid to be lonely or alone. Second point is you have to love achievement. Love it. Love it as much as humanly possible. 3, and this will happen naturally, is don't dilute your circle. Meaning, you don't just sit with anybody, everybody, especially when it comes to specialized knowledge. Let's say in college, I want to pass a grade. I'm not going to talk about random people talking about it. I need to have standards. I'm going to give you standards that you need to have in your life. If you're a man, your standards are men, period. There's few abstract, there's few people. As an example, this girl that I just gave you, she's the first in the class, but those are not the rule. The rule is for men to have men with you. I would prefer generally a manly, masculine man, even if he's not the highest performer. I'm pretty sure if I took his advice, I'll probably perform better than if I took, let's say, a feminine man advice, or a random girl's advice. Any day of the week. So as a rule of thumb, you need to be socializing, or your circle need to be consisted of men and men only. For girls, I assume it's the opposite, but I don't know. For men, it has to be men, because men have this culture, this unconscious culture that just you're born with, that makes you perform. Other men will make you a better man, and a lot of what we want as men is made by being with other men. What this means is that you're not talking and entertaining other girls just because you're afraid to cut them off. If she's not your girlfriend, she's not your wife, she's not your sister, your mother, your auntie, whatever, she's gotta go. You're not her best friend, bro. You don't want to be her best friend. You don't want to be her gay best friend. Oh yeah, let's talk about the movies. Fuck the movies. Stuck with the men. And I found out that men really don't give a fuck about most of the topics that girls talk about, because girls talk about weird shit that we don't really give a fuck about. Let's be honest. This is real talking. We be honest. So you don't really want to talk about all that bullshit, because girls will distract you. Men will fucking stand in business. They're like, shit, we gotta win. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. I mean, I have good colleagues that they don't really study shit, but I learn a lot of shit from them. Because when you sit with him and he's like, fuck, he's wearing a suit, whatever, and he didn't fucking prepare a single word. You know, that guy, I want to be with him. Right? Because I'm wearing a fucking suit. I know I'll get a fucking 20 out of 20 in my pocket. I know that's for sure. But you need to have these references. Okay? Cool. So, with this being said, you have to watch this video again and again and again and again until this comes like a second nature to you. This is one of the most important topics that you will ever understand in your fucking life. Because your circle is the #1 indicator for your success or failure in any content in your life. So you need to watch this again and again. I don't care if you have to watch it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, but this has to become like a second nature to you in your unconscious mind. You don't even think about it, it just happens. So with this being said, make sure to subscribe.